Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name's Kit, and this is my world. Thank you very much for joining me. In this episode, I'm going to be doing a double tag, and I'm going to start off with the frustrating book tag, which is by Paige at thePMreader. I'll leave a link to both of the tag creators in the description. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Question number 1. Name a book you predicted would be 5 stars but wasn't. Well, I can name 2 books without even trying. The first one is The Mating Habits of Stags, and I made a whole review video on Zoom with my friend Yere from Drawn to Stories. I advise you to have a look at that video, it's rather good. But The Mating Habits of Stags was not. Also, I'm going to say every single book ever written by Jeremy Clarkson. And I know that some of you who know me might be surprised by that answer, because I am a huge fan of Jeremy Clarkson. I loved Top Gear, the proper Top Gear, and I also loved The Grand Tour, and I've pretty much liked everything that Clarkson has ever done on TV. I really enjoyed Clarkson's Farm recently, and unlike stupid people, I'm not bothered by the lack of political correctness, so it stands to reason that I should really enjoy Clarkson's books. I find him very funny and likeable. But I had every single book he had written up to a certain point. A lot of them, a large stack of books, and I hated every single one of them. They didn't make me laugh, I just found them annoying. So it turns out that I like Clarkson, but only on the telly. Question number 2. What book had a great beginning but an ending that let you down? Well, there's only one that springs immediately to mind, and that is The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Honestly, I don't like the book anyway. I did a review of that as well. I recommend you check it out, it's rather good. But the book itself is not, and I know that's extremely controversial. Lots of people love The Wizard of Oz, and it is kind of a great book, really. It's a great series. It's magical and wonderful and all of that stuff, but I don't like things that happen to animals in The Wizard of Oz, and so therefore it's in my shit pile now. However, the thing specifically about The Wizard of Oz that lets it down at the end is, of course, the ending. Do I dare spoil it? Does it count as a spoiler when the book's millions of years old? It's all a dream. Anyway, moving on. Question number 3. Do you have a book with a pretty cover but an ugly spine? Nope. They're all pretty all over or ugly all over. Question number 4. Do you have a book series that doesn't match? Maybe some are paperback and some are hardcover, or maybe the cover designs were changed halfway through the series. Does it bother you? Yes, I do have a series like that, and yes, it does bother me. Allow me to demonstrate. These are my Narnia books, The Chronicles of Narnia, beginning with a very ugly green hardback of The Magician's Nephew, which is tatty and old and disgusting, but you would expect that because this is a very old book. But it's a hardback, and it's published by Longman, and it looks kind of like something that you would find in school. I mean, that logo even reminds me of the Open University logo a little bit. It's a little bit shitty. Oh, and also I've just broken the spine. Moving on, but also, of course, speaking of broken spines, we then take up with The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which is again falling to pieces. It's utterly ruined, totally destroyed. Beautiful artwork by Pauline Baynes, but again, this is the Puffin version, and then we also have the Puffin version of The Horse and His Boy. We've got the Puffin version of Prince Caspian. This is good. It's starting to look a little bit like a set now. We've got the Puffin version of Dawn Treader. And now we've got Lion Book's version of The Silver Chair. I actually really love this artwork. That looks like Eustace, and that looks like Jill. I like the artwork, but it doesn't match the rest of the set. And then, of course, we've got the Lions version of The Last Battle, which, again, the artwork is reasonable, but it's a shit book. I don't like the book. But anyway, so it should be a set, but it isn't. Nothing matches. It's very annoying. Moving on. Question number 5. Is there a book from your youth you can remember parts of, but cannot remember the name of or find anywhere? No, I remember them all. Question number 6. Are there any books you're certain you've read but cannot remember anything about? Well, although this may seem to contradict my answer to the previous question, yes, all the Terry Goodkind books. I know for a fact that I read them, or at least I read up until I think book 6. This is the Wizard's First Rule books. They started off shit and got increasingly worse. I read them because my friend Ian insisted that I read them, and because we'd done a book swap and I really wanted him to read my Devory books, I had to read the Terry Goodkind books. And it didn't go well. I found them increasingly preachy and just annoying. But that's all I remember about them. I can't remember any of the character names. I can't remember any of the plot. I'm given to understand a lot of it's stolen from other books anyway. So yes, the answer to this question is all the Terry Goodkind books. Question number 7. Have you ever recommended a book you love to someone and they started telling you everything they don't like about it? Does it bother you? In other words, do your feelings get hurt when someone doesn't love one of your favourite books? I don't really discuss books with people like that, and on the occasions when I have discussed books, they either agree with me or they don't, and I don't really care because I know that I'm right and they're wrong. Question number 8. What is your worst experience loaning a book to someone? Well, I once knew a young lady by the name of Katerina, and I lent her my Borobles trilogy. If you're at all familiar with my channel, you know that I rather love the Borobles trilogy, and also you may know that my versions of those 3 books are the original unadulterated versions, the ones that weren't ruined when they got changed later on. It's very hard to get hold of non-ruined versions of the Borobles trilogy. So I lent these precious books to my friend Katerina, who promptly took them to America on holiday and lent them to a friend in America, who then lent them to another friend in America, and these books travelled all over America while I was waiting for Katerina to return them. And needless to say, I was not impressed. But the worst thing about it was that when she did eventually return my books to me, she said, "I'm sorry they turned into such an albatross." An albatross? The albatross? Those were rare and precious books. They were lent to you on trust. I trusted you with my treasures. They were my own, my treasures. Anyway, moving on. Question number 9. Show me some of your impulse buys that you've never read. You know, the ones you bought at midnight while blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. This is a lot of writing, so I'm just going to skip out of the graphic and say I only have one impulse buy that I can think of off the top of my head, and it's one that I mentioned in my recent tag. It's witchy, and I don't even remember buying it. I downloaded it onto my Kindle. I found it there by accident when I was attempting to prove that I read everything I buy. So that was a little bit embarrassing, and I still don't really understand what possessed me to download it. Question number 10. Just to make you hate me a little bit more, how many unread books are on your shelves? Well, I haven't looked at my Kindle, but there aren't very many on my Kindle that are unread, apart from witchy. Most of them are either completed or in the process of being completed. But on my bookcase behind me, I did an approximate count of 15. And on that note, I'm not going to call it a day because I've got another tag to do. So this is the Big Books tag, originally by One Book, One Review. And again, this and the other creator will be listed in the description. This one's easy. It doesn't have any questions at all. It just simply says, show me your big books. And I'm going to try very hard not to give a smutty response to that. So, moving swiftly along, the first one I will show you, it's a little bit tatty, but it is big. It's The Complete Phantom of the Opera. Now, this is a book, it's by George Perry, and it came out around the time that the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical of Phantom of the Opera first happened. And so this book is largely about the creation of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, the stage musical. This is before the film happened, the shit film that I don't want to discuss. But the beautiful thing about this book is, aside from the fact that it's just a beautiful book, it's very nicely done. It contains origins about the Paris Opera House, which is the setting for the story, origins of the Phantom himself, the original first story, then the origins of the film, the Lon Chaney Phantom of the Opera movie, and other film versions. And then it tells you all about the Andrew Lloyd Webber version, and it gives you the complete story of the making of the show with loads and loads of pictures. I will find a way of showing you some of them, but there are stages of the Phantom makeup being done there. That's Michael Crawford, the original Phantom. But the other thing that this book has, which is really magnificent, is it has the complete libretto for the entire show. All the lyrics, all the words of the entire show, which is like an opera, completely sung through. There's no spoken dialogue, or very little spoken dialogue. So this contains the entire show in its lyrical form as well. So it really is the complete Phantom of the Opera, and I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. It contains original artwork by the designer, lots of really good close-up photographs of different elements from the show. It's just lovely. The next book I want to show you is A Pictorial History of Horror Movies by Dennis Gifford, who was a very prolific writer of books about films. And this is exactly what it says. It's a pictorial history of horror movies. It tells you, there's lots of text, and it tells you all about horror movies. These are old movies, especially by modern standards. These would be ancient movies, I suppose. But it also has some film posters, lots and lots of pictures, and hence pictorial history. Shows you posters, shows you stills from the various films, shows you things like there's Lon Chaney doing his makeup for that would be The Hunchback of Notre Dame from the look of it. The story of this book is it was given to me by my favourite ever teacher, Colin Carey, who I've mentioned in a previous video. Colin Carey was the only really good teacher I had in my entire school career, and he really wanted to nurture my interest in films and the arts and everything, and at the time I was very into the old Universal Studios horror movies, the old black and white ones, and which you can see mainly depicted on the front cover here, and so Colin very kindly gave me this book as a gift, and I've treasured it ever since. The last book I want to show you is Industrial Light and Magic, The Art of Special Effects by Thomas G. Smith, with an introduction by George Lucas. If you don't know, Industrial Light and Magic, or ILM, was the special effects company created by George Lucas for the purpose of making the special effects for Star Wars. And ILM then went on to do the special effects for pretty much all of George Lucas's films and Steven Spielberg's films as well. All the really good stuff. ILM was like the world's foremost special effects company. They did incredible stuff. I mean, they made the E.T. They did E.T. and they did Close Encounters. They did Raiders of the Lost Ark. Remember this? Remember this shot from the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark? That's a painting. That's a glass painting done at ILM. So this is my incredibly heavy, cumbersome and awkward and ridiculously expensive ILM book, and I absolutely love it. This was a treasured possession. George Lucas posing with some of his creations, or no, not his creations really, but some of the ILM creations. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff there. There's Death Star in the background, R2-D2, Yoda in a glass bottle. I bought this for £40 back in 1991 when I was a technician at the Museum of the Moving Image on London's South Bank. That museum doesn't exist anymore, which is a tragedy. But this was on sale at the museum, and I bought it, and it's one of my treasured possessions. And it's really heavy. So that's it. 2 tags done. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you haven't already, you know what to do. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share, comment, do all the good stuff, and I will see you next time. See you later.